Good evening, everyone. I'm Divya Sharma, your English faculty at Competition Plus. Now, all the other faculties before me had discussed tricks to crack competitive exams. Now, as far as English portion is concerned, let me tell you that there are not as such tricks to crack the exam as far as English portion is concerned, the general English portion, but we have a lot of tips. So today I will be discussing tips with you as to how you can ace your general English portion for various competitive exams. Now, before we start discussing the tips, I would first like to tell you the three main components that are there for most of these exams. Now, first you have your general grammar portion. For grammar, you have your class 10, 12 level grammar. Then you have your vocabulary portion, and then you have your reading comprehension passage. These are three major headings under which the questions are asked for various competitive exams. Now, as far as the grammar portion is concerned, the only advice is keep practicing. Grammar is more like maths. The more you practice, the better you become. So, for your grammar portion, keep practicing all that you have studied in class 10 and 12 level, like your tenses, your past and your tenses, your active, passive voice, direct, indirect speech, your pronouns, spotting errors in sentences, all these things form a part of your grammar portion. Then we have the vocabulary portion. For vocabulary, you can be asked questions like antonyms and synonyms. You could be given questions on one word substitutes. You could be given questions related to idioms and phrases or homophones and homonyms, words that are often we find often confusing. We do not know which one to use at what place. So for your vocabulary portion, you have to keep working on your vocabulary. To work on your vocabulary, you have to be good at reading. You have to be an avid reader. So make it a point to read the newspaper every day. Now, this reading habit will help you not just with your vocabulary portion, but will also help you with your reading comprehension and grammar part. When you're reading every day, your word bank improves. You are learning something new every day. Whatever new words you come across, when you're reading something, make a note of those words, look up for the meaning in the dictionary, and try and use those words in your day to day writing or in your spoken English. This is how you're going to memorize those words. If you're not using those words often, you will not remember them for long. So if you want those words to remain in your memory, read the words, note down the meanings, and then use them in sentences of your own or in your writing or in your spoken English. That way, they will stay with you for long. Now, when I say read the newspaper, I don't mean to read the entertainment section. I want you to read the editorial section in the newspaper. Every newspaper has the editorial section where you have interesting articles. At times, you also get good debates over there. These will help you not only improve your general awareness, but will also help to your knowledge bank and also give you a lot of interesting words that you may have never heard of before. So please do keep reading. Now, once you have worked upon your vocabulary, you will look up for the meanings in the dictionary of the words that you have acquired. That will help you crack your antonyms and synonyms portion. There is no trick otherwise to deal with the antonyms and synonym portion. The only way out is to have a good vocabulary. Learn as many new words as possible. Next, we move on to the reading comprehension passage. Reading comprehension passages are integral to most competitive exams. Now, when you are attempting reading comprehension passages, the kind of questions that you can be asked for are at times you are asked vocabulary-based questions in reading comprehension passages. You are given a word and you are asked to look for a word with similar meaning from the passage, or you are given a word and asked to look for its opposite in the passage, or you could be asked some inference-based questions. Now, when you're dealing with the reading comprehension passage, what you have to do is first read through the passage, the paragraph that has been given to you, read through it, try and understand the objective behind writing that paragraph or passage. What did the author intend to do when he was writing that passage? What was his tone like? Because the tone will tell you a lot about that passage, whether he's positive about the topic or he's negative about the topic. Then you also have to understand the context, in what context that topic is being discussed. Because most questions in English vocabulary portion, if you are asked to look for a word in the passage, they will help you out if you look at them from context to context. Look at them in what context those words have been used, what situation they have been used in, and how they make a difference to the meaning of the passage. So this is how you will be able to Answer those questions if they are vocabulary based. As far as inference based questions are concerned, read through the passage, then relate them to the question that has been asked about that passage. Now see how that question relates to that, and to it, especially to which particular part of the passage does that question relate to, and then that will be you will be able to interpret the answer. Now remember one thing, since most of these passages are inference based, the questions these days are inference based, there will be nothing from outside the passage. The answers are all going to be there in the passage only. So when you're reading through the passage, look for important pointers, or what we call connecting words, that will help you form a framework in your mind as to what the passage is about. Don't go for unnecessary details. Look for important points in the passage. If necessary, you can always jot them down in a rough work column. That these points are going to help you construct the answers for the reading comprehension passage. Now, this is what we normally do. Now, one important thing when dealing with the English, general English portion, is your time management. Do not waste too much time on one particular question. If you're not too sure of a question, you're not getting it, move on to the next one and you can come back to it later on. So time management is an important thing when dealing with general English portion in competitive exams. Now, for your reference, I have one question paper with me, a mock test paper with me. I'll show you the kind of questions that you can be asked for when you're appearing for a competitive exam. Nidhi ma'am, could you please make me the host for some time?
Ma'am, you are the host.
Okay, thank you. Students, can you see this on your screens? Nidhi ma'am, do you see this on the screen?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. We have this one mock test paper here. Now, these are the kind of questions that can be asked for as far as the general English portion is concerned. Now, in the first question, from directions are given there for question 1 and 2. There are two statements. Each statement consists of a blank. Now, you have to choose an option from the options that are given below these statements. Now, you have to choose one such option that would fit in correctly in both the blanks, making the meaning and making it meaningful, and also fitting the blanks grammatically right. Now, I'll read out the statements to you. One must always have a plan, but also be dashed enough to adjust to the emerging realities. Statement number 2 says she has become stronger and more ever since she started exercising. Now, when we are talking about plans, you have, as I said, always look at general English portions from the point of view of context or situation, in what situation they have been used, or what in what context we are talking about. Now, when we are talking about making plans, isn't it always said, it is always advised to us that we should always have options for improvement. If the plan doesn't work, we should be ready to reinvent ourselves. So, what does it mean indirectly? It means that we should be flexible enough. We shouldn't be rigid with our plans. We should be flexible enough to make changes if a thing is not working out. We should always be open to trying something different if the option is not working out for us. Now, the second statement talks about exercising. Now, we have also heard when we are regularly exercising, our body becomes quite flexible. When you're not exercising, your body becomes rigid. So, here from the given options, what are the options available to us? We have wise, insane, flexible, adjusting, and we have the word rigid. Now, since we are talking about flexibility in both these statements, so option C, flexible, is the word that fits in correctly in both the statements. It makes the statements meaningful and it is also grammatically correct. So, this is how you have to relate the options. First, try and understand the context, in what context we are talking about, and then relate the options given there to these sentences, see whether they make sense when you use the options one by one. Do they make some sense to us? They sound correct? Do they sound grammatically correct? Do they make the sentence more meaningful to us? And this is how you will be able to reach your answer correctly. Now, question number 2. Statement 1 says the college administration dashed the students who were protesting by agreeing to consider their demands. Statement 2 says the clerk dashed the angry customer by apologizing. Now, in these two statements, if we try to understand the context, in what context they have been used, first sentence is talking about an agitation, a protest that is going on. Now, what happens when somebody is agitating or protesting against some rules or against regulation, what does the administration normally do? They try to pacify them. Okay, they try to calm them down by offering them some alternatives. Similarly, at an organization, if the customer is annoyed with the working of the organization and he comes complaining to the clerk, what is the clerk going to do? He's going to again try to pacify the customer by apologizing to make things a little better. Now, here, when we look at the options given here, we have placated, we have provoked, we have calm, we have irritated, and we have the word evoke. Now, placated is the word which is more closely related to pacifying. So, this is the correct answer. Placated is the correct answer for both the statements here, because we are talking about, in one situation, we are talking about agitation, and in the second situation, we are talking about an angry customer, and in both the situations, they were being classified by the concerned authorities. So, placated is the correct option, and it makes the statements more meaningful and grammatically correct. Now we move on to question number 3. Question number 3 is to deal with synonyms. As I told you, synonyms and antonyms are an important part of all major competitive exams. Synonyms means words with similar meaning. Antonyms are words with words that are opposite in meaning to them. Now here this word is the one which is similar in meaning. You have to find from the given options a word that is similar in meaning to the word written in bold. So it is a question related to synonyms. The head word is feeble here. Now, you have the options brave, weak, forceful, dramatic, and strong. Now, you will have to relate the options to feeble and try and use these in sentences of your own if you are good at reading, if you have read the word before. Now, he spoke in a feeble voice as he was running a high fever. When I say this, what does it tell you? When somebody is running a high fever, and he's speaking in a feeble voice means that person is feeling weak. Okay. Now, it cannot be brave now. If somebody is in fever and speaking feebly, that person cannot be brave. He cannot be speaking forcefully because he's speaking feebly and fever. Cannot be dramatic, cannot be strong. So the word has to be weak here. The correct answer to feeble is weak over here. Now, next question that comes is question number 4, where you have been given 4 words that are printed in bold. Now, one of these words may either be wrong, spelled wrongly, or it may be grammatically wrong. Now, you have to find the word that is inappropriate. Either grammatically it is wrong or it may not be spelled correctly. Now, the words are entrance. As the dates for entrance exam for many management colleges clashed last year, many candidates complained that they could not appear for a number of exams. Okay, now when we go through these lines here one more time, we will see that complaint. This is the third word that has been highlighted. Complaint is actually a noun. You need to, again, if you are very good with your vocabulary, you need to know the meaning of the word complaint. Complaint is a noun, which means it is a statement of an expression that something is not acceptable, something is not agreeable. Now, students, on the other hand, here are actually expressing their dissatisfaction about something. So the correct word should have been over here, complained. Complaint is a verb. Complaint, on the other hand, is a noun. So this here is grammatically wrong. A noun has been used in place of a verb. Actually, here there should have been the word used should have been complained, which is the past tense of complain. Complain is a verb. Students here are complaining that because of this entrance exam, they could not appear for a number of other exams. So it is an action word that should have been used over here. So the correct answer here is going to be E, option E, 3, because the word 3 that has been highlighted is wrong. It is grammatically wrong. Spelling is correct, but grammatically it is wrong. Okay, this is how we attempt such questions. You have to first relate. You have to be good with your vocabulary, see whether it is grammatically right or not. For grammatical portions, you also have to be very good with your nouns and verbs. You need to know whether the word is being used as a noun or it is being used as a verb. Now, question number 5 is a question related to antonyms. As I told you earlier, you could be asked questions related to antonyms and synonyms, and they are a very popular portion for all major competitive exams as far as general English is concerned. Believe me, For all major competitive exams, you're bound to have some questions related to antonyms and synonyms. Now, here we have to find the word which is most opposite in meaning to the head word or the word given in bold. So, this is a question related to antonyms. Now, the word given in bold is trivial. Now, if I give you a statement, if we're fighting over a trivial matter, trivial means something that is of not much importance, something which is not very significant. So here you have to give the opposite. Remember, you have to give the opposite. Now, insignificant is a synonym for trivial. As I said, something not significant is trivial. So insignificant cannot be the option because it is a word similar in meaning to trivial. Then minor again is a word similar in meaning to trivial because trivial also means something that is not important. C is important. So this sounds to be the correct answer because we are talking about something that is not important and option C says important. So this becomes the correct answer for the word trivial. The antonym here is important. The all other words here are actually synonyms of trivial. Okay, now you can approach such exercises only, I will again reinforce, only and only if you're good with your vocabulary, and vocabulary can be built. There is no other way, there's no magic potion to build your vocabulary. The only way out is reading. Read a lot, read every day, look for at least 10 new words every day. Make a list of those words, find the meanings, and add them to your word bank. Use them more often, and this is how you're going to be able to attempt the general English portion. Now, we have another interesting question, directions for questions 6 to 7. In the following questions, they consist of a single sentence with one blank, and you are given 5 words as answer choices. Now, you have to pick up at least 2 correct words. You have to pick 2 correct words, either of which will make the sentence complete or meaningful. So, you have been given 5 words. Out of these 5 words, you have to choose 2 words, not one. 2 words, read the instructions carefully. Now, these 2 words, either of these 2 words could be used in the blank to make it meaningful. They are more or less same in the meaning. So, question 6 reads as follows. The major dash for many security professionals is whether the Brexit will make the UK more or less safe when it comes to cybersecurity. Now, when you read through the sentence and you try to interpret it in the terms of context or situation, the tone of the sentence tells you that the people are still not very sure. Okay, whether, because the word whether is being used here, whether this particular plan is going to be beneficial or not. So, in that case, the word options given here, dilemma, confusion, solution, boon, and advantage. Dilemma and confusion should be the 2 words because they are quite similar to the situation or the tone of the sentence. The tone of the sentence says, conveys to us that the people, the professionals, security professionals are still not too sure of whether the Brexit will make the UK more or less safe when it comes to cybersecurity. So the answer is dilemma and confusion. So option A, states 1 and 2 is correct. Now, 7th question. A study conducted on young children in Delhi has shown powerful dash that children growing up in a polluted environment have reduced lung growth as compared to children in non-toxic environment. Now, when you look at the situation or the context in which the sentence is being used and the tone of the sentence, pay attention to the tone also. The tone is very important. It gives you hints. The tone will give you hints as to in what direction you're moving, whether it's a positive statement or a negative statement. Now it says the study is conducted that was conducted on young children in Delhi has shown powerful. The options, look at the options here. Belief does not fit in here with powerful. Assurance doesn't fit in. Evidence, instance, and proof. So when we look at the options, powerful evidence fits in and proof. You have powerful evidence of to something that points towards something, and you also have powerful proof to something. So here, as far as this question is concerned, option 3 and 5 go well for the statement. Either of the 2 words can be used to make the sentence meaningful and correct. So accordingly, option B, which says 3 and 5, is the correct answer to this question. So this is how, these are few tips that you're going is kept in mind. are going to help you sail through the general English portion. Now, some of you who may not be very confident with your English might feel nervous about approaching the general English portion, but let me tell you, constant practice is going to help you sail through easily. There's not much of a problem here. If, and this is what we do in our competition plus classes, if you are joining our classes, this is what we are going to be constantly working on. We are going to be working on topics. First, we are going to do tutorials on the major topics that are covered for your competitive exams. We have tutorial classes, and then we have practice tests followed by these tutorial classes, and then we also have mock tests based on various competitive exams that have been through over the years. These are going to give you a strong foundation. These tests are going to give you a strong foundation of what general English portion looks like for various competitive exams. That would be all. Thank you for your time and patience.